Welcome to Golden Aging Health. In love, it's not always words that shake us the most. Sometimes silence becomes the sharpest weapon of all. When a woman chooses to stop reaching out, that space rings louder than any goodbye, forcing a man to confront what he once took for granted. So what really happens when you stop sending the texts, making the calls, or giving him your daily attention? What does a man feel behind the mask of calm he tries to wear? There are 4 powerful reactions that almost every man will experience, starting with self-doubt, moving into a battle of silence, followed by waves of unexpected longing, and finally, the defining decision about whether his love is genuine or merely convenient. By the end of this video, you'll see the hidden truth behind silence, whether he truly values you or whether he was only comfortable when you did all the reaching. And if you find these insights meaningful, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, because together we will continue to uncover the psychology of love that words alone can't reveal. Now, let's begin with the very first reaction. What happens when silence forces a man to turn inward and doubt himself? The first stage. He doubts himself. When your attention disappears, the silence you leave behind does not simply feel like an empty space to a man. It strikes at the very foundation of his self-worth. At first, he may not admit it out loud, but deep inside, uncertainty begins to whisper. He replays your last words, your last gestures, your last conversations, searching for a hidden sign he might have missed. Did he say something wrong? Did he fail to make you feel cherished? Or worse, was he never truly enough in your eyes? For many men, pride and ego serve as their armor during the day. They stand tall. They act confident, they appear unshakable. But in the quiet of solitude, when no one is watching, that armor cracks. Your silence forces him to see himself without the reassurance you once gave. The compliments you offered, the way you admired him, the simple joy of hearing you laugh, these become haunting echoes in his mind. And as those memories fade further into the distance, they do not comfort him, they unsettle him. Because without your presence, he begins to feel less certain about the man he is. Here lies a hidden truth. Often, he does not just miss you, he misses who he was when you were with him. The version of himself that felt valued, attractive, capable, and strong. When you step away, he feels stripped of that validation, as though part of his identity was tied to how you saw him. That realization can be deeply uncomfortable. It makes him restless, irritable, and sometimes even reckless. He may overthink to the point of exhaustion, or he may reach out with a casual, almost careless message like, "Hey, how are you?" But beneath that simple line is a cry for reassurance. Do I still matter to you? And if his feelings for you are genuine, that self-doubt becomes more than a passing thought. It unsettles him until he can no longer ignore the void your silence has created. He may try to distract himself, burying the feeling under work or routine, but the truth always resurfaces in the stillness. This is only the beginning. Because once the first sting of self-doubt passes, many men respond with something far less vulnerable, something that feels like a defense.
They turn to the silence of their own.
Number 2. He responds with silence of his own. After the first sting of doubt, many men quickly shift into a different mode. Vulnerability feels dangerous to them, so instead of showing their insecurity, they wrap it in pride. This is where the silent game begins. He tells himself, if she stopped contacting me, then I'll stop too. It becomes less about love and more about holding on to dignity. On the outside, he crafts the image of a man who doesn't care. He posts on social media, smiling in photos, going out with friends, or diving into hobbies. To anyone watching, he looks perfectly fine, maybe even happier without you. But behind that facade, the story is very different. He still checks his phone, secretly waiting for your name to appear. He scrolls back through old messages, wondering if you'll break the silence first. His pride won't allow him to admit it, but your absence is heavy, and it lingers in every quiet moment of his day. Psychologists often describe this as a defense mechanism. By mirroring your silence, he convinces himself that he is in control, that he's the one deciding not to reach out. But the truth is, that silence burns him just as much as it burns you. The longer he pretends not to care, the more he realizes that the effort to hide his feelings takes more energy than simply admitting he misses you. And this is the irony. His silence is not power. It is a mirror. It reflects back to him how much space you occupied in his heart and how much emptiness he feels without you. In trying to look strong, he ends up revealing just how deeply your absence has shaken him and how fragile the walls of pride are when love is tested by silence. Before we move on, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you think silence is a sign of strength, or is it simply a mask for pain? Share your perspective in the comments below. And if this resonates with you, don't forget to tap like to support the channel. Because the truth is, silence doesn't stop the feelings. In fact, it often makes them louder. And that leads us to the next stage, when he begins to miss you in waves he never expected. Number 3, he begins to miss you in waves of emotion. Missing someone is rarely a steady ache. It comes in waves, unexpected and uncontrollable. At first, the tide is gentle. He notices the small things. The absence of your good morning text, the way your laughter used to light up his day, the little details of your voice that once made even an ordinary evening feel alive. But as the silence stretches longer, those waves grow stronger. Suddenly, it isn't just the sound of you he misses, but your very presence. The way he believed in him when he doubted himself. The comfort he felt when you were near. That quiet warmth that made the world seem less heavy. Your absence begins to ripple into the spaces of his daily routine until nothing feels quite the same. I remember a close friend of mine going through this. He was proud, the type who swore he would move on easily after his girlfriend stopped contacting him. At first, he laughed it off, went out with friends, and tried to act like nothing had changed. But one night, he confessed to me how he had walked past the little cafe they used to visit. The smell of coffee, the familiar chairs by the window, the playlist of soft music, all of it struck him at once. He said his chest tightened, and for the first time, he realized how deeply her silence had settled into his life. It wasn't the cafe that hurt him. It was the memory of her smile across that table.
This is what silence does. It turns the most ordinary things, streets, songs, and habits, into sharp reminders of what was. And the longer it continues, the brighter the memory of you becomes against the dullness of his everyday life. But memory alone cannot hold him forever. At some point, he must choose whether to keep drowning in waves of longing or to finally act. And that is where the fourth and final stage begins, when he must decide to chase you with sincerity or to let you go.
4. He must make the final decision. Silence cannot last forever. After the doubts, the games, and the waves of missing you, a man eventually reaches a point where he must decide. That decision becomes the turning point of the entire story. No matter how long he tries to delay, no matter how many distractions he uses to cover the emptiness, silence always demands an answer. Some men take the easier path, the path of shallow love. They allow the connection to fade without a fight. They convince themselves that life moves on, that work, friends, or even new relationships will eventually fill the gap you once occupied. On the surface, they look composed, even strong, but appearances deceive. Their choice reveals the truth. If they can let you go without effort, it is not because you were unimportant, but because their feelings never grew deep enough to endure the test of silence. They chose comfort instead of courage, convenience instead of commitment. Others, however, cannot ignore the pull in their hearts. These are the men who choose the path of real love. For them, silence becomes unbearable. They set aside pride and step forward with honesty. They reach out, not with casual messages or games, but with sincerity. They say the words they once avoided. I miss you. I don't want to lose you. In those moments, vulnerability transforms into strength. By daring to expose their heart, they prove that devotion matters more than ego. This is the hidden truth of silence. It is never just absence. It is a test, stripping away excuses, forcing the masks to fall, and revealing what lies underneath when comfort is gone. A man who lets go shows that his love was not strong enough to withstand discomfort. A man who returns shows that his love was real, even when pride tried to silence it. In the end, his choice is not only about you, it is about him. It reflects the depth of his character and the authenticity of his feelings. And though his decision may hurt, it gives you clarity. Because silence has a way of uncovering truths that words often hide.
Ending contact is not a game of power. It is a search for clarity. Silence does not manipulate. It simply shines a light on the truth. It shows whether he truly valued your presence or whether he only grew comfortable receiving your attention. Sometimes the answers we need are not found in promises or sweet words, but in what remains when everything falls quiet. Silence has a way of stripping away illusions and leaving only what is real. So when you stop contacting a man, remember this: you are not just disappearing, you are allowing him and yourself to see the true worth of the love between you. If this message spoke to you, Please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe for more reflections on love and the human heart. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, take care of yourself and your heart.